Yeah, so when I watch the NBA today, I don't want any smoke from any of these guys. I don't even know how I did it. I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of people come up to you and say, "Hey, I know you were killing this era." I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But like I'm watching these kids now, they're just on a different level. You know, how they play, how they move, their bodies are more developed. I went to summer league this past summer and I stood in the court and I said, "Wow, these avatars, these are summer league kids, let alone the pros in the NBA, right?" So I'm humbled by everybody's thoughts that I would assimilate to today's game. Probably. It's kind of on a different level.
Man, Mike, welcome back, man. Been so much going on in your life since we last spoke, man. We were in Springfield together at your Hall of Fame induction, which is an incredible thing to say. You've been blown up on TikTok, which is another incredible thing to say. You just rang the victory bell at Ohio State, 3 for 3 on incredible moments here. So a lot to talk about in life, a lot to talk about with the NBA getting underway. But let's take it back to the Hall of Fame and go from right there. I mean, you've released a lot of content on YouTube, on social. So if anyone wants to follow or see it, at Mike Red, at Mike_Red, at Mike-Red, find it. But I think the main thing to me is some of those moments you haven't spoken about yet.
So, and mentioning the Hall of Fame, you cannot mention it without seeing this first and foremost. Pretty proud to have received this. And I say that humbly in a sense where it was a team that went into the Hall of Fame. And that's an incredibly gratifying thing to have experienced. Um, Humbled, grateful for the experience. It takes a village to raise a family, to raise a person. And for me, the fact that my family was there to see this, my kids, my wife, obviously, my parents, and other friends there, it was special. And um, this represents not only me, but also the folks that helped me get here in life, from grade school to even now. So it was as much about me as much about the city as much as it was about me.
Yeah, you had a line in there. You said, man, something like from the hilltop to the Hall of Fame, which I know resonated with a lot of people, online. And there's a lot of people who come through Columbus as college students and kind of migrate through, but you really grew up there. You really represent it.
Yeah, that quote, "the hilltop to the hall," was an organic, knee jerk thought that I had in the moment because it did start on the hilltop in Columbus, Ohio. And there was a ton of great players that could have made it from that area. And I was fortunate to be one of the ones that did. And I think about all the former players that I played with and played against at Westmore, West Broad, West High School, to Ohio State, obviously, and to the pros. But it really did start on the hilltop. And my dad was instrumental as far as putting me around this environment of great, great talents that kind of nurtured my game. One of my great coaches, Keith Neal, who I'll never forget, was huge in my development and spent a lot of time with me, and will never forget his contribution to my life and my career. One of the great coaches and one of the great names on the hilltop.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, speaking of really making it, one of my favorite stories from the weekend is Saturday night. Everything is a wrap. It's over. It's 1:30 a.m. something like that. We're saying peace to each other, in the near the elevator bank in the hotel, and it opens up, and we recognize a familiar voice, and next thing you know, it's Allen Iverson, and what a moment, man. We were talking about him. We haven't seen him today. We haven't noticed him. And then literally as we're saying peace to the weekend, Chuck rolls up.
Yeah, it was good to see him, man. I hadn't seen him in years, and Allen was a fierce rival and just the ultimate competitor. And I had been looking for him throughout the day to want to get a chance to see him. And it was 1:30, and I said it was a wrap, and it wasn't a wrap because he came walking around the corner, and we just hugged, and just the mutual respect we have for each other. I love AI and what he represented for the culture, for what he did on the court. But he brought the best out of me when we played, and I'll never forget him for that reason. But to be acknowledged by him and other great players means the world to me.
Yeah, yeah. Allan honestly is one of my favorite people alive. You know, we've been blessed to spend a lot of time together, build a great relationship, truly love him. And I think people don't know how funny he is. So even he came up on you, you're saying he hugged you. But what I really remember is he came up and grabbed your left hand. And I'm like, what the heck is
Yeah,
going on right now? And my
yeah.
man said, does it still work? Does it still work? And man, we were cracking up. But, you know, he was checking you real quick to see if you still had it.
Yeah, no, there's a mutual respect that Allen has for me as I do for him, obviously. But yeah, he did grab my left hand to see if I still had it, in a joking way. And, when he walked around the corner, it was almost PTSD for both of us because we used to go at each other and had great battles. Um, but he is phenomenal. And, anytime you get a compliment from him about your game, about what you meant to the game to him, it meant the world. And so he's one of the players I hadn't seen that I wanted to see, and I was lucky enough to see him and spend time with him.
You know, you have a great story about him or just the way of speaking about him that I love. And I think, you know, you quote one of your former teammates when you say this. And I don't know if you've told me who, but you kind of say, you know, on offense against AI, you'd put up numbers, you know, you'd get 30, 40, whatever it was, whether it was him guarding you on Eric Snow. But on the other side, you know, he'd be getting his. And you always said, you know, the best defense for guarding Allen was your own offense.
Yeah, it was. There's nothing you could do with him defensively. While you're getting 30s and 40s, he's getting 40s and 50s. And just a remarkable player to play against. He was so fast, so quick, and so tough minded. And so you had your best defense. For me, my best defense was my offense. Try to punish him and try to get him in foul trouble and make it a tough night for him and make him guard on the other end. And so that was the strategy when we played against each other. But I was in trouble anytime I was matched up with him, having to guard him. And his speed, his quickness was just too much for a guy my size, for anybody. So but I try to return the favor on the other side. So back in our era, the great players, the great offensive players, particularly you wanted to make them work defensively. And that was part of the strategy to get them worn out and let them be a little bit fatigued when it came to trying to score the basketball. So, yeah, that was the strategy. It didn't always work, obviously, against the great players. But, sometimes your defense was your offense.
100%, 100%. And I mean, you know, everyone from our generation loves talking about Chuck and how great he was. Another guy that we bumped into that weekend that I noticed you had a lot of love for was Allen Houston. And after you saw him, something you said to me was, I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame, but he's the Hall of Famer in my book. Um, yeah, man, what's your relationship with Allen like? How far does that go back?
Allen Houston is my big brother. I love him to death. He's one of my mentors in life. Um, Allen is one of the great players of all time, and I don't say that lightly. In his prime, there wasn't too much anybody could do to guard him. Uh, just for me, one of the top four players for me to guard. And when you look at my list, you got AI, you got Kobe, you got LeBron certainly in his prime, and then Allen Houston. And Allen Houston was just a tough guard for me because he could shoot over you, he could drive you, he could post you, he can do pin downs, he could do flares on screens. There wasn't too much he couldn't do, and so I just really took a lot from my game or from his game to implement to my game. But to see him there, to give me a hug, to be supportive of me throughout my entire career meant so much to me. So H2O is what we call him, which means water because his jumper was water. He'll call me red hot because when I got hot, the rest is history. But uh, I have such a reverence for him and respect for him, not only as a player, but he's a great father, a great husband to his family, and been an incredible ambassador for the Knicks over the years as well. He's one of the great Knicks players of all time.
100%, 100%. I think kind of moving on from there, one of my other favorite encounters from the weekend was when LeBron rolled up. And, I think it was a question whether he was coming or not all weekend. He was in Asia with the sneaker brand. He was moving around. He doesn't always make it to Hall of Fame events. In fact, I think he didn't make it last summer. And so it was a question of whether he was going to come or not. And he rolled up kind of as everyone was getting seated. I know you haven't seen him for a long time. A, what was that like? And then B, speak to your interaction, which is out there.
Yeah, it was funny seeing LeBron again. We haven't seen each other since the All-Star game in Cleveland, and ironically, the conversation was dominated by golf. I mean, the guy has the bug when it comes to golf now, and we mentioned about playing together, and he told me, he said, "No, I know how good you are. I'm not ready for you just yet." And I said, "No, it's not about the competition right now. It's about us just hanging out and playing." So hopefully we'll get a chance to play at some point. But he really has it in his eyes, the love for the game of golf now, and obviously Bronny now as well. So it was fun to see him, and obviously we hugged and we talked about our hairlines and talked about our decrease in hair over the years. Me and him both used to love our hair as far as waves, and now that time has passed for both of us. So that's the one thing that we always clown about and laugh about. But certainly good to see him, and having two Ohio boys going at the same time was pretty special. And I know it was special for him to be in the Hall of Fame with this team, and obviously the same for me.
What's funny is just from the Hall of Fame, right? Like we're there with D. Williams, we're there with Jason Kidd, we're there with Chris Bosh, we're there with all these guys who are done. And then training camp starts and LeBron is at training camp. That longevity, man, it's just really unbelievable to me from someone who's in and around the game. And for you, someone who, played 12 years and someone who, now is long removed from the game. How crazy is it that this dude that you played with in 2008 is kind of still out here doing his thing?
For him to be playing at 41 soon is remarkable, but not just playing, he's playing at a high level. And it speaks to his work ethic, his commitment to the game, uh, his diligence, his commitment to his body. Uh, so LeBron is just a unique athlete, one of the more unique athletes in the history of sports. And so proud of him and what he's been able to accomplish, not only on the court, but off the court. And there's a special affinity that I have for him being from Ohio. It means a lot to me to see him have the success that he's having. I'm sure he's proud of me. And in fact, he told me he's proud of me. But I think, to go in with him and Darren Williams and Chris Bosh, Tayshaun Prince, Carlos Boozer, Chris Paul, Jason Kidd, Dwayne Wade, Kobe, Dwight Howard, to go in with these great players, it's a dream come true. And I've always said this, I don't know if we're the best team in USA history, but I think we're the most important team.
Agreed with that. I agreed with that. I thought that was well said too. It's something you said live at Springfield at the Hall of Fame. So you haven't been thinking about it. You just said it and it stands true. Um, I'll leave you with this on the LeBron tip, man. No defender has ever been able to stop him, but I do think golf will finally be the thing that does. Once you catch that bug, it's all you want to do. And if it's going to keep him from spending 4, 6, 8 hours in the training room and working out and hooping, it could be the thing that finally stops him, in my opinion. You heard it here first.
Oh, no, I feel the same. I feel the same way. I feel like if anything's going to have him retire, it's going to be golf. When I looked into his eyes, I saw it. And we laughed about it. And me, him, and Dwayne Wade talked about it. Dwayne talked about it. And we talked about golf the whole time. Me and Boeheim and Dan Tony talked about golf. So and me, Jay Kidd talked about golf. So the common thread with the team wasn't the stories of what we accomplished in Beijing, but it was more currently about golf and who had the best handicap and who's the best golfer. And so it's good to see them boys play and get on the course now. And I think if anything that stops LeBron from playing, it probably will be golf because he has the passion.
I'm right there with you. The amount of time that you need to put into golf to be good does not allow for the amount of time that it would take you to remain in the NBA. So he's going to have to make that choice probably this upcoming summer, and none of us could ever stop him. No hooper could ever stop him. No businessman could ever stop him. Golf finally might be the thing that does it, though.
I think it was a preseason game where he was working on his golf swing during a timeout. and it was caught on camera. Like he's got the bug for real, and it's fun. And hopefully we get a chance to play soon after the season, probably.
100%, 100%. Yeah. So, man, was somehow, some way, it's training camp again. The year always goes quickly. I know there's a bunch of storylines you're always following. We're always talking and texting about. Again, there's a lot of people who retire from the league and kind of get off my lawn type attitude. They kind of start throwing shade at the young players. They kind of start having a negative attitude. I was better. Da 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 da. You have never adapted that attitude. You're almost like the opposite. Like, these guys are so skilled nowadays. The way they play is so quick, so amazing. Yes, I would like to be out there with them because I think I could get some buckets, but also nothing but respect for the way they move. Is there anybody headed into this season that you're excited to watch, whether it's a team, a player, anybody that is going to be on one of your league pass must watches?
Yeah. So when I watch the NBA today, I don't want any smoke from any of these guys. I mean, I don't even know how I did it. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like a lot of people come up to you and say, "Hey, I know you would kill in this era," and you would. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But like I'm watching these kids now, they're just on a different level. How they play, how they move, their bodies are more developed. I went to summer league this past summer, and I stood on the court and I said, "Wow, these avatars, these are summer league kids, let alone the pros in the NBA, right?" So you know, I'm humbled by everybody's thoughts that I would assimilate to today's game. Probably, but
Hey,
he's got on a different level.
look, I agree with you. Speaking of avatars, man, I was watching the Boozer twins, Carlos's sons at Duke, and I was like, nah, these two are 35 years old. You can't tell me they're
Yeah,
18. You can't tell me they're 18. They physique is like they've been working out since they were babies.
these kids have advantages that we didn't have as far as being in the weight room, trainers, physios, since they were 10, 9, and their bodies look it. And they're so skilled, they're so developed. I think my vertical coming out of college was like 25, 28, so like maybe lower. Um, and was able to figure out to be in the league. But like it's an incredible scene today to watch these kids play. I'm excited about the season this year. I am. I look forward to seeing a new season every year. There's new storylines. There's new talent that's rising up. New superstars that are rising up, and it's going to be a fun year to watch. I think in the East, particularly, I think it's open. Obviously, you can say the Cavs and the Knicks are the two leaders of the pack in the East, but watch out for Detroit with Cade Cunningham. Watch out for Orlando with Banchero and his crew. And so look at Atlanta with Trae Young and what they've done in the offseason. So you look at the East and you say, well, it's open more than ever. And obviously the best player in the East with Giannis, you could never count Milwaukee out because they had the best player. So, in my opinion, so I'm looking forward to seeing what the East looks like. The West is just a gauntlet, as it always is every year. It seems like the Lakers, obviously, with Luka in shape, fit, ready to go, motivated Luka. Then you have LeBron being LeBron, and some of the additions that they added to that team. You look at Houston with KD. And with that roster they have with Şengün and Thompson and that whole crew and Jabari Smith. And so I look for big things from them this year. I think Golden State will be in the mix because of just their veteran savviness. But the team I'm really looking forward to seeing is Dallas, especially when they get Kyrie back in the fold with the Anthony Davis and a Cooper Flag. There's a lot of great storylines. Wembanyama, how does he take the next step this year to becoming a potential MVP candidate? The Joker, will he win his fourth MVP this year? He's so unstoppable. So there's a lot of storylines that are going to happen this year that I'm looking forward to seeing.
It's just it always, to me, one I want to go back to is Milwaukee, right? And Giannis. And I know he got to camp late, he suffered from COVID or whatever, stayed back. Now he's finally there and part of the team. But, he recently won, I believe it was what was it? They won the bronze medal, right?
Yep.
They medaled right over there. And I know he said it was, the words got misconstrued a little bit because people were trying to say he was demeaning or belittling his NBA title, but really I think he was trying to say how amazing it was that he won something for his nation and almost like comparing apples to oranges. Like nothing feels as good as winning, a title and a medal for my country. I represent the Bucks and Milwaukee, but I represent the entirety of Greece. You won a gold medal. You were never lucky enough to win an NBA Finals, but you did win a gold medal. In your opinion, is anything he said wrong, or is he spot on? Like, yeah, you represented your country. Like, that's bigger than representing a city in the NBA.
I don't think he's wrong at all. I think opinions vary, right? I'm more biased to the notion that winning a gold medal is important because I didn't win a championship in NBA. Wasn't fortunate enough to get to that point. I can only imagine though with the time committed to your brothers in an 8-month, 9-month journey certainly means something. Winning an NBA championship is incredible. It's never to be diminished at all. But neither is winning a gold medal for your country, winning a medal for your country.
Nah,
So,
that's literally with his brothers too. I think I think two of them are on the national team with him,
well,
and so he's like
yeah,
literally playing with his blood. Guys who are borderline, NBA G
right.
League type guys. So this is his chance to say, "Nah, come next to me."
It may mean more, and that's okay for him to feel that way. So, I certainly applaud him for saying that and being authentic with that. He shouldn't be condemned for having that feeling. The whole reality of everything is that you want to win and want to be the best at what you do, and if you can do it for your country, and I say that from experience, it's an amazing feeling. So, but so was winning an NBA championship. And when I was at that parade in Milwaukee in 2001, 21, it was an amazing feeling to have been considered the best.
100%, 100%. Another guy that you name dropped is Wemby. And I was just reading an article they were talking about he's coming back with violence. And there's been a highlight going around of him shoulder dropping somebody, knocking them back and dunking. And the comparison he's now getting is Giannis. People are saying if you're really watching basketball, I think it was Nate Jones, a big Twitter personality and player, sports marketing agent, great dude. He said Wemby times Giannis is the best matchup in the NBA right now. And if you're really watching, you've even seen that last year. Yeah, what do you think about the comparison?
Wow, I think Wembanyama can be something that we've never seen before. I really do. And obviously, the comparison to Giannis is high praise. Could he achieve more than what Giannis has done?
Mm,
Um, and that's a possibility. He's longer, he's bigger, just as versatile. Once he figures it out, which it seems like he's starting to figure it out now in the preseason a little bit, and stays healthy, what can stop him? Who can stop him? And then obviously, no one can really stop Giannis. But I think Wemby could take it to another level. And, you know, what they're doing down there in San Antonio is pretty special. And I'm looking for them to make a real surge this year, especially with Wemby figuring it out and staying healthy.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, Wemby's an interesting one, man. It's like you said though, the ceiling is so high, the expectations are so outsized. I don't know if he feels it, but I feel that pressure for him. And just apples to oranges, right? Like you were a second round pick. Anything that you did was a bonus, right? Like
Right.
if he doesn't make 10 All-Star games, if he doesn't win 3 MVPs, if he doesn't win a couple chips, it feels like it would be a letdown, right?
Well, when you play in the NBA, you play in this silo of pressure. And even though being a second round pick, I wind up becoming the franchise guy, and there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure to stay in the league as a second round pick. So there's no escaping pressure, no matter how you slice it. Uh, as a player that wants to be great, you embrace the pressure and you focus on being great every day. The accolades will come, the money will come, but at the end of the day, you just focus on being the best player you can be every single day, and that's the focus, and that's the focus to the end. So hopefully he has an incredibly long career, but I don't see anything stopping him once it actually continues to click for him.
Agreed, agreed. I think I read somewhere recently pressure is privilege, whereas Allen Iverson once famously said, pressure, that's in tires. You know what I mean? Like where you're coming from, and a lot of NBA players, again, be that good, bad, ugly. what's the pressure being an NBA player? You know what I'm saying? At that point, there is no pressure. You know, like you might let fans down, but that's not family. You know?
No, no. Pressure is something that you want to embrace. You don't want to run from it. You want to tackle it, take it on, and I guess one thing that subsides pressure is being in a harder place. I've practiced. I've got the reps in. Because of that, I have the confidence to take on any challenge. And one of the great challenges for anybody in that position of being an NBA is pressure. So there's pressure to win,
Yeah.
there's pressure to perform. So
I mean, even to take it back to training camps, a different kind of pressure, man. Like Wemby is making the team no matter what. You were a second round pick, rookie year, training camp, man. What did that feel like for you? Were you nervous about making the squad? Like, what was your mindset like if you can go all the way back to, the turn of the century?
yeah, turn of the century. Wow, I'm that old, I guess. But I would say going into camp, I had zero pressure because I knew how good I was. And if you don't have that level of confidence, you're going to sink in any space. So for me, my approach to training camp was to be the hardest worker, to come the earliest, to stay the latest, take care of the body, be in the weight room, be a great rook to my vets, listen, be in the film room. I was in the gym, I don't know how many hours in a day, every day, but I was desperate enough, hungry enough to not only be in the NBA, but to be great in the NBA. And so my focus was not making the team. My focus was to actually dominate every time I played on the court. And no matter who I played against in practice that day, and I think my vets respected my approach every day, and my coaches as well, obviously, in our front office. And so, yeah, I had a certain approach. It wasn't out of scarcity of like, oh, I need to, be passive. No, I actually wanted to be aggressive and to do my thing. And I think that was the attractive thing to my coaches and my teammates.
I love that. I love that. Was there a moment in that first training camp where I mean, you mentally knew you belonged? Like you were saying, that's part of what you need to make it. You need that irrational confidence. But also, was there a moment, that you remember where it really clicked? Like, yeah, I'm every bit as good as these guys. And again, you were going against Ray Allen. You were going against, Glenn Robinson, Sam Cassell. Like, y'all had players too.
Yeah, Tim Thomas, Glenn Robinson, Sam Cassell, Ray Allen, Lindsey Hunter. These are all guys I looked up to in college and high school and admired them. But all that went out the window when we got on the court. I had to go go out there and perform. And this thing about that level is that they respect you when you go at them. They don't respect you when you don't go at them. And so here I am, known as a scorer, trying to figure out how am I going to be impactful into the game. And I had to catch tip dunks. Yes, I did catch tip dunks. Um, I was able to be aggressive on offensive boards and defensive boards and defend at a high level, especially early in my career. So I had to, scrap and try to figure out and pivot on how to be effective and impactful while playing. And obviously, the main thing was to become a better shooter, which I did with the help of the guys I mentioned. So, yeah, it was an incredible time of learning, absorbing, and at the same time, like the gratification of that. I not only am here, but I actually belong to be here.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's a lot of guys who are on the fringes, and I would argue that the bottom 100 guys in the NBA are not really better than the top 100 guys in Europe. The biggest difference is something a team is looking for, whether that's a skill set, whether that's a personality in the locker room, whether that's a trait like leadership, whether that's showing up on time, whatever it is, right? It's such a thin line at the bottom. As someone who's done it, what is your advice to that, 20 to 25-year-old who's scrapping and trying to find a lane, in the league?
Be humble, be hungry, and go out and be able to be aggressive. Uh, those are the things that were like foundational for me. When I say humble, come in and learn from the vets, learn from the greats, and then stay late. Come in early, stay late. Be the first one there at practice. Be the last one to leave practice. Watch game film. Be hungry. I'm in the weight room, getting stronger. I'm doing extra sprints. to get in better shape, and be aggressive. When I'm on the court, I'm not taking a back seat to anybody. I'm respectful, but I'm not taking a back seat to anybody because I belong. So when you get into the position of being there, you can't operate out of scarcity. You actually have to go out and be aggressive and attack and have the mentality that you belong. You're not just there just to be there. You actually belong on this roster. So I wasn't just happy being on the Bucks team. I wasn't just happy, coming off the bench. I wasn't just happy starting. I wasn't just happy being an all-star, right? So there's levels as you go on, right? And like never being satisfied with getting better.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's funny. So, like I was saying earlier, and I think this ties back nicely to that, man. For some reason, not for some reason, your skill set, you're blowing up on TikTok. You're having a minute there. Your account's blowing up. People are following you, and the number one comment is, "I've scored 100 points with you in NBA 2K. Even though your name is red, you're always green. Your shot meter is always green, no matter where you are on the court." I need to know, man, did you know how good your character was in NBA 2K? Not only then, but even more recently, you can get it as like a player card and stuff. And people are out here like, yo, Mike Red is unstoppable on NBA 2K.
Well, 2K embellishes you a little bit, probably. There's no question. I'm a far better player on 2K than I was in reality. That's a fact. uh, my son, when he was 4 years old, was playing 2K, and I had to grab him for dinner. And I went upstairs to grab him, and he's playing 2K. And I said, "Son, it's time for dinner." And he says, "Dad, I'm coming. I'm coming." I said, "Son, it's time to go eat dinner, buddy." He said, "I'm coming, Dad. I'm playing with Michael Redd and the Milwaukee Bucks." He didn't correlate that it was his dad on the screen, and which is a great story. But in a sense, I kind of won because I was just dad to him. But when he was playing, I was making every shot. And so I was a much, much better player on 2K than I ever was in reality. Uh, but it does give you some kind of peek into that player's game, though.
It does. It does. And what I've always found, whether it's Mike Vick in Madden or whether it's you in basketball and 2K, if you have like one elite trait, they embellish it to the point where it's unstoppable. So Mike Vick's speed, you could break out at any play and just run down the field. And you shooting, like people are saying, you just pull up for 26 footers in 2K and you can hit 23s in a game with you.
Yeah, it's embellished for sure.
I mean, you did hit what? A cool dozen
For
one
sure.
time?
Huh?
What was your career high in threes? 12?
Uh,
You had the record at the
13?
time for
No,
a while.
13, 12, 12. I think you're right. It might have been
Yeah,
12 or
you had the
13.
record. I think Clay finally broke it.
I had 8 and a quarter. He broke it with nine.
Yeah.
Threes and a quarter. Clay broke it with nine. So no, I mean, listen, I would get hot occasionally, but a dead clock is right twice a day. So, but all the games are on YouTube, and you can find out, and it's funny to see the younger kids on TikTok discover who I was, and it's fun. I'm really, really honored by the fact that they know me but through the 2K aspect of things. But yeah, to be remembered and to have any contribution uh, at that level is a dream come true, man.
100%. I mean, and I think that's like a great wrap up kind of question is, you said your son didn't like put two and two together. He was so young at the time that the Mike Red he was playing with in the video game is his dad. And I think, you retired when your kids were pretty young. And I know that factored into your retirement. You wanted to spend more time with your family and really be, a present father. Um, do your kids know like who you were, or are you just dad to them?
I think my son knows a little bit about who I was. My daughter has no clue, really. I mean, she has a little bit, but like not really. In fact, we were at the Hall of Fame, and my daughter was taking pictures for all the fans. She said, "You want to hop in and putting on portrait and certain." I said, "Honey, this is just pretty normal. What we. And she didn't understand. So to them, for the most part, the most of their lives, I've been just dad, which is a big win for me.
100%. I feel like actually Hall of Fame might have been like eye opening for her
It
and even for
was.
Mikey to a sense, just like, oh wow, like everybody's asking for your autograph. All these guys that I know from TV know you and are coming up to you. Like, okay, who are you, Dad? You know?
Yeah, who are you? Right. That's exactly right. Is how my kids approached it, and they were watching me sign autographs and take pictures, and they're like, I mean, can you just hurry up and go into the car? You know, they don't know that life, which was fun to watch. And I think there was a level of another respect that they have for their father for what he had did. Um, but
Nah,
to
it's
them,
amazing. Look, Mike. There's people out here who find out 20 years later that their dads had second families or were serial killers. For
right,
you, they found out 20 years later that their dad was a NBA Hall of Famer. So it could always be worse.
it could always be worse. It could always be worse. And that's a good quite the comparison, Sri. But you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
We
So
all
it was
got secrets. Your secret is just that you were an NBA All
right,
Star. You
right.
know.
Although it was in front of them, they didn't see nothing but mom and dad and traveling and experiences with mom and dad. So I never talked about my career as much with them. Still don't
Yeah.
really, unless they ask
No,
me.
it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, I was talking to Mikey recently, and he was like, some of the content that you're putting out now on Twitter and on LinkedIn and on YouTube and on TikTok, he's like, I didn't even know that. We're talking about your favorite players. We're talking about your mentors. We're talking about, Irv Johnson, Lindsey Hunter, Russ Westbrook, KD, DeMar DeRozan, guys you played with, against, look up to. He's like, I had no clue. I had no clue. So it's incredible. Like sometimes you're putting out content, quote unquote content for the fans. Sometimes you're really just talking and creating your own history so that it's here on wax. And not only is it here on wax for former OSU fans and Bucks fans and NBA heads, but
Yeah,
your own kids get to watch this and it's discovery, and something that they can then show their kids, hopefully one day and be like, this is your grandpops.
yeah, that day will come, prayerfully. But what a tremendous honor for them to experience that, and it's something that we will never forget as a family.
100%. Well, Mike, we'll do this again soon, man, but I always love talking hoop with you, love talking family with you. Congrats again on Hall of Fame, and let's go watch some NBA hoops and continue to talk about it, man. Appreciate you, and for everybody watching, make sure you tap into Mike's socials. He's got a link tree in his account. You can find everything everywhere, but he's on all the main channels, and he's out here putting a voice for old heads, unks or OG as he's getting
Us,
called on TikTok. But
us.
it comes from a place of love, and he's spreading love and spreading positivity around the game and around life. So tap in, and appreciate y'all for watching.